Now that we have the business partner event from the SAP system via Azure Logic Apps and Teams, it's time to do a callback to the SAP system and retrieve additional information. Hello and welcome to SAP on Azure. My name is Holger Bruchelt, and in this video we want to enhance our Logic app to retrieve additional information from our SAP system and display it in Teams. Previously, we had set up our SAP system so that when a business partner is created, an event would have been sent via SAP Event Mesh. So in SAP Event Mesh, we have configured two connectors, one for our SAP system, one for Azure. Then we used a custom subscription to actually connect these two connections together. So now, when a business partner event is created, this event is actually sent to Azure Event Grid. From there, we have a subscriber, in this case a Logic app, which takes the event and creates an adaptive card in Teams. Right now, this adaptive card, as you can see here, has only the business partner ID, which is good, but obviously not very meaningful. So what we want to do now is we want to create an additional action in our Logic apps that actually calls back to the SAP system and retrieves additional information from the specific business partner and displays it also in Teams. So in order to find out the required URL in our SAP system, we actually go to the SAP API Business Hub and search for APIs for our SAP system. So in our case, an SAP S/4HANA system. There we are looking for APIs that are related to business partners. And we can see there is actually one that seems very much fitting. So here in the API reference, we can see there is a business partner API which retrieves business partner data. So that looks really good. We can take a look at this. We can even test it within the API Business Hub. But what I'll do is I'll take the URL, I'll adjust it to my specific system, and if I call this URL, then I get a long list of business partners. So in order to change the feed from an XML base to a JSON stream, I'm just changing the format with this $format equals JSON. And then you can already see there's even, for each of these business partner entries, there's an individual link which basically just returns the information for this specific business partner ID. So if we do this, then you can see I get a shorter list and only focused on this specific business partner. So that looks actually already really good. So I'll take this information and use this URL for my business partner API in my Logic apps. Now obviously I need to change the ID with the ID that I got from the event from the SAP system. So I'll just select this variable business partner, and now I'm actually good to go. The only remaining thing that I need for the authentication is to add a username and password. We can later take a look at how to do single sign-on, but for now I'll just hard code a specific user that is used to connect from Logic apps back to the SAP system, retrieve this business partner additional informations, and then make this data available in Logic apps. Now let's see what we can do with this information and actually trigger a new business partner event from the SAP system. If we now take a look at the run history of our Logic apps and take a look at the one that we just triggered, we can actually see the results of the API call from the SAP system. So we can see here lots of information like the first name, the last name, and lots of additional fields that come directly from the SAP system, very much to what we previously saw in the browser. So what we can now do is we can take this body, the response from the SAP system, and parse the information in Logic apps so that all these different properties are more easily accessible for us in next flows. So what we'll do is we'll call the action parse JSON, and we'll add the sample payload, the body that we just retrieved here. As the input, we'll take the body from the HTTP request, and that's basically it. Now, from within Logic apps, we have access to all the fields that are returned from our SAP system. So right now we are only returning the business part, and we're just returning and displaying the business part in Logic apps. So what we can do is we can just copy this field. Obviously, we could go to the adaptive cards designer and design a completely new layout. What I'll do here is I just copy and paste this small text block area. I'll call it first name, and we'll fetch the information from our parse JSON step before and enter here the first name. Now we'll do the very same thing for the last name. And that's basically it. So now let's do it again. Let's create another business partner and trigger off this whole event so that once we create the business partner, the event is sent to SAP Event Mesh, to Azure Event Grid, and we can see now the results in Teams with obviously the business partner ID, but now also with the first name and last name. I hope you enjoyed watching this video that showed you how to retrieve additional information from the SAP system and make it available in Teams. Thank you very much for watching.